Eli Abramov is going to kick us off this morning. Dr. Eli, it's a real pleasure to have you with us this morning. I'm going to do a very quick intro on Dr. Eli. Dr. Eli Abramov is the executive advisor and director of an EVP of global operations in Elhanen. Dr. Abramov has an internal drive to improve things around him. Throughout his career within the public and private sectors, he has developed and implemented processes to improve big enterprise operations and their effectiveness by leading significant changes. Under Dr. Eli's leadership as an executive VP for global operations, Elhanen has become the best in class within its industry on all aspects of supply chain and inventory management. Dr. Abramov will share with us his insights about this dramatic change. It's a real honor, Dr. Eli Abramov, to have you here directly from Tel Aviv, Israel, to share your expertise.
Thank you, Joseph, for your kind introduction, and thanks for the organizers for allowing this opportunity at this time, this terrible time, to have these meetings and conference. Let me do it right. Okay, so Joseph already was kind to present me, but I will say one thing. I have this passion to improve things, and actually I have zero tolerance for when I see ineffectiveness. So I'm doing my best to improve things around, to do the right changes throughout my career. So this is Elhanen. I've joined Elhanen about 8 years ago, 2012. It's really a great company. You can see here the main attributes. Is the #1 in the world to provide off-patent crop protection. When you take the whole arena, including the patent-based companies, it's #6, responsible for about 6–7% of the total sales, annual sales of about $4 billion out of something like, see, it doesn't change. Can you see the slide? Okay. So out of about $60 billion for the total industry. Company grew a lot in the last 20 years, about 3 times the general sector, and it's really fabulous. Serves almost the whole continent, more than 100 countries. And important fact that I'll refer to later, it's provide the widest portfolio exists. So sell something like more than 300 different active ingredients. We call it AI. It's not artificial intelligence. It's active ingredients. Actually, it's the molecule that help the plant to grow. So this is what Elhanen is doing. So I joined the company, and giving the responsibility for everything from R&D, engineering, production, supply chain, sourcing, almost everything except sales. So I thought, based on my background, I would focus mainly on R&D, engineering, production. And then just before joining the company, I met the chairman of the company. And after a long, nice chat, he told me, Eli, you have one mission, one main task, and this is taking care of our working capital, taking care of our inventory. At that time, I didn't understand what he meant, and then I joined the company and I saw the big issue. So what is happening is that the company, although it made really great on sales and developing new product, etc., and growing, actually did not make money. So make profit, but because of the high inventory, because of the high investment, actually the company did not make money. So we have, on one hand, high inventory, carry out high working capital, we had shortages, we had very extremely high logistic costs. So said, okay, let's deal with it. What is the challenge? So Adama, as I said before, serving something like more than 300 different actives. Now, just to give you the flavor, the food industry is selling something like 600. So Adama is actually having in the offering half of the total agrochemical actives. Now, from each one of these active, you can make different product. Different product can be different concentration, different additives, sometimes combination of few molecules. So you have 1,500s, more than 1,500 different products. Now, each one of these products can be in different size, different label for different crops. So you have more than 15,000 SKU. Now, for if you are in the sales force or marketing, this is a huge asset because you have almost everything in the basket. Combining this together with the fact that you have to serve more than 100 countries, together with the fact that the actual shelf life of a product is less than 2 years from production, you actually, for operation, is a real nightmare. And this caused most of the problems that I showed before. So the outcome is very clear, vicious cycle. You have high inventory, it carry out a lot of working capital, so not enough money to invest in other stuff in the company. You have shortages because you are spreading the same product all over the world. So you have many shortages if you want to keep some balance of the inventory. And most significant, you have complete mistrust between production, selling units, supply chain. So real cost, and of course, the more you have mistrust, the higher inventory you have because people will ask for more to make sure they have what they need to sell. And in addition, all these vicious cycles bring some other wonderful things like a lot of rework, extra logistic cost, and on addition to these, also poor quality, because when you do all these reworks, repacking, relabeling, you don't do it in your best production sites when you have full quality control. You do it somewhere else, sometimes in the warehouse, so you lose also on the quality. So solutions, of course, the company was aware of the situation and tried many things as solutions. So number one KPI was forecast accuracy. Of course, it didn't work. You know what is agriculture? You have unpredicted weather, you have unpredicted disease on the crops. Many different things are changing without any ability to forecast it. But you put pressure on the people to give you this accuracy because otherwise you cannot manage the supply chain. This also caused a lot of frustration on the people because you push them hard, you give them a KPI to do better forecast. They do their best, but they cannot deliver the results. Then you try sophisticated IT solutions. Now, I know that here in the audience, there are many people are from IT solution companies. I like IT tools. I use a lot of IT tools. But somebody mentioned before, what happened if you put very sophisticated IT tool on a bad process? You don't solve anything. You just make it worse. So this didn't work. It put extremely high-level, sophisticated, statistic-based machines, but the process was not good enough. So not only did it work, you waste a lot of resources. And one thing about this statistical-based software, it based on the belief that what happened last year will happen next year. But again, this is agriculture. It doesn't work this way. So another solution was controlling and prioritizing each and every internal order. Now, these, to some extent, can work. What you do, you just delay some of the orders. You want the numbers to be very good at the end of the quarter, so you delay more. It helps to bring the numbers now, but it didn't really solve the problem. And you know, if you do the same things again and again and again, at the end, you cannot expect different results. And I just mentioned here the genius Albert Einstein, who was saying that this is insanity to expect different results by doing the same and the same and the same. So here I am in the company, looking at all this situation. I'm newcomer to this industry, so people in the company really tell me, listen, we have issues, but this is the way of life. We cannot do anything to really change it, and they strongly believe in it. So the best thing I found is to put a mirror in the face and to present a benchmark. So I brought in one of the best companies. It actually has the internal data of the giants in our business that are responsible for almost 90% of the total sales in the sector. And they've done a real deep analysis as benchmarking to the other companies. They came up with this. So leave aside 2009 when the company has some internal problem, but if you look at the 3 years from 2010 to 12, you see that Adama is actually having 235 days of inventory, which is the worst in class. So it's not only not close to the average, as you can see here, but it also lower than the lowest in the class. You can observe one more thing, that if you look at the industry, they have big part of the inventory back in their backyard, what we call, so in the production, in raw materials, and much, much less in the field at the end, in the countries. And this is something that we took into account. So after this benchmarking, I remember when I presented this to the management of Adama, everybody was like shocked. They knew we are not the greatest, but they didn't know how bad we are. So this was like putting a mirror, showing we can do something else. What was the main paradigms that we had to change? So people really believe that if you have higher inventory, you will have less shortages. Why? Because you allow more sourcing, you allow more production to make sure you have sales. Actually, it's the opposite, and I'm going to demonstrate it. You just think that if you have higher inventory, you will have less shortages. From the work we have done, we managed to increase the availability, so reducing shortages, and at the same time reduce drastically the inventory. So we had to change the paradigm. So first step was to share benchmark results at all levels of the company. When I say all level, is really all level to the guys that work in the plant or the guys that sell the product in the country. Important, no blaming. This is you have to respect what people have done. They have done their best. This is the way they thought they should work. So very, very important, no blaming. Then we have to share the vision. So it's not only slogans. It's put on the table very few principles for the direction and the direction for the solution, not the full solution. The full solution you build with the team. You collect the people, present them the direction, they will come up with ideas, and then you build the whole plan. Then very important task is to look for partners, internal partners. I have one great partner, is the CFO of the company, but I found many other partners that understand what we need to do. When you talk with partners, with potential partners, you have to know why they behave as they behave now, and you have to look at their KPIs today and what you need to change. And I will talk about KPIs later because I believe this is one of the most important parameters here. Then you do pilots. You want to demonstrate the ability of your solution, of your direction to really bring value. So you take some pilots, relatively important ones, not something negligible, but something that you can do really fast to show the results. When we come up with the ideas, we look at the supply chain characteristic, and you see that on the left side, when you have material sourcing, when you have production, you have very long lead time on one hand, but you have relatively accurate forecast. So if you look at the total amount of the same type of product along the years, you see very small deviation. Now, if you go to the right side, which is the SKU level or the distributor or the farmer end, then you need to have very short lead time on one hand, but you have very poor ability to forecast. So you need to learn this in order to take advantage of the different behaviors of the supply chain. This is Dr. Eli Goldratt, late Dr. Eli Goldratt, passed away 9 years ago, was a good friend and mentor throughout my professional career. Probably some of you knew him from his many, many books that was sold all over the years. And when I look at this paradigm, I remember what he said about certainty. So if a management of a company try to impose certainty on an uncertain situation, not only is it doesn't bring value, it creates a lot of negative impact. And I saw it in everything Adama was doing at that time. So we need to look at the uncertainty as it is. We cannot change it. We need to learn how to embrace it, how to cope with it, and how to give the flexibility of the operation in order to address it. You cannot force certainty. And this is something that when people were asked to give more precise forecast, they failed again and again and again. So again, very short list of principles. Of course, the full solution for every geography, for every different kind of operation will be different, but you use the same principle. So limited long-term focus. So you still need the long-term focus. When I joined the company, the procedure was that the selling units have to create forecast for 18 months on an SKU level. Just imagine in agriculture if this is possible at all. So we changed the method, so they have to give the long-term forecast just for sourcing reason and for capacity planning. So only on the aggregate amount of materials and so forth and so on. And here you can use some IT tools, some statistical tools, some more sophisticated tools. Then we change the direction of the supply from push to pull based on actual sales. So we created something we called dynamic buffer management. A few words about it here. You of course need some very intelligent tools to do it. Instead of saying, okay, for this product, because he has high margin, I have 30% buffer. For this product, I will go down to 10 or 5% margin buffer. What you do is you actually look at the sales and you change the buffer as you move. So you really need a tool that can adjust very quickly to the actual sales and give feedback to the supply to adjust the planning. Of course, this call for much more flexible operations. So these were the principle, and I will not get into details here, but we look at each and every step on sourcing, on formulation, on SKU level. What is the characteristic of this part, and what we need to create as a policy? And again, I will not get into details, but it was a lot of a very intensive study. Then, of course, pilot. So I will present two very short case studies. One was Europe. Now, Europe is one of the most lucrative and important markets for Adama. It's very high margin market, very regulated, strictly regulated market. So the company has advantage on this market. When you look at this case study, we saw that actually you have, from the same product family, from the same formulation, you have many different products. So instead of sending to the countries all the products ahead of the season, by the way, this was the way Adama operated for years. Because of the importance of this market, let's send everything to the countries before the season. Season is short, you have to do it in this way. So we created a hub in Europe, getting the signals from the sales. So we supply to the countries only small amount to start the season. Then we measure what they sell daily. And with this signal, we change the planning so we could react within days to refill whatever they need to sell. The more power you put on aggregation like this, the better respond to the market. Availability went up, inventory went down, everything went terrifically on this pilot. Show you the results very quickly. So this is the end of season inventory, which is a very important parameter because remember, we have 2 years as a shelf life. So if you don't sell the product, maybe you have one more year. In most cases, the farmer doesn't want to buy products that have only 1 year, but even if it does, you have only 1 year to sell. So if you look at the 3 years from 2010 to 12, in the country level, we stayed with 25% of the products at the end of the season, percent from total sales. With the pilot, we went down to 10%, and we have another 5% in the hub, still not labeled, not packed, so it's still very flexible. But you know, people are suspicious. So people come and say, maybe this year was better, maybe these products went well, maybe it will happen even without this pilot. So we made all the comparisons. So here you see the blue one is the end of season. So you see the pilot items, 10% in the country level, and you see on the same countries what they have on their other products, 38%. Then you say, okay, let's see at the total sales. So all the items in these countries, it was quite a good year. 96% of the forecast, the total forecast was served. On the pilot items, we actually sold 117 from the forecast. And the reason is because we have this app, because we have the ability to push more to the countries. When they sell more, we could actually exceed the planned sales of this wonderful year. By the way, when we finished this pilot, the plan was to move to a bigger pilot. The leaders of the countries and the leader of the region came to us and said, it worked perfectly, let's move to full blown. So a year later, we already done full pledge of the same plan without any pilot. Then second case study is the US, completely different market, very extremely competitive market, relatively low margins, dominated by few distributors. Adama owns 2 formulation and packing facilities, but they work as independent business units, and I will talk about it later. They use many different warehouses to carry out because they want to be competitive, so they promise the market 24 hours service, and this required many warehouses all over the country. So reality check, we came with the directions, with the principle, and check reality. First one is 24-hour promise. We found out that there is no added value to distributors farmer. Now, if you claim that you have a unique product or unique service, there is only one way to check it, whether this unique service or product remove an important obstacle or barrier for your customer, or just something nice to have but no real important value. How you check it? Very easily. We say, okay, let's change it to 48 hours, but if somebody really wants 24 hours, he will pay 10 cents more. 10 cents more per gallon is less than 1% of the cost. Nobody wanted to pay it, meaning that it doesn't really help anybody. So we changed it. Then we found out that Adama US is using a lot of external formulators and companies to do their packing, and this is because the owned plants really, because they were a business unit and their KPIs were to make money, so they made more money to go for external customers, and Adama US had to go to external providers. Now, when you do this, the season is very short, so everybody has the same peak. So the formulator asks you, if you want us to give you the service, you have to buy the raw materials ahead of time. We will do it 6 months before the season. So not only that they have shortages because during the season they don't have any capacity to deliver, they also have high inventory, very high cost on internal logistics. So we changed very few things. We changed the logistics spread to few hubs. Again, delivering in 48 hours. We changed the structure and operation mode of the plant. So the plants now are first priority. They don't have KPIs to make money. First priority to serve the sales of Adama US. So they can do much faster. They can do it during the season. They can give all the service. By the way, when they do work outside for external customer, they made a profit of $500 million. This was down to about 200,000 or 300,000, so we lose $200,000. Sales went up drastically, inventory went down dramatically, only logistic cost went down by more than $1 million. So this is just for this small change, and people were happy to change it. Results, sharp increase in availability because you have these facilities, 20% down on logistic costs. This is more than $1 million. Drastic reduction in lead time and of course inventory. So everything was changing, just two very small things. By the way, again, here after we made the new process, we put in the best IT tools to support it. So again, IT tools should come after you have the right process to make it better, but not to replace this process change. And I talked a lot about KPIs. So for me, this is extremely important. Most of the very good projects of improving doesn't really happen because of rejections, because of people, because of KPIs. Again, this Dr. Eliyahu Goldratt, one of his beautiful phrases, tell me how you measure me, I'll tell you how I behave. So the plants didn't behave like they did because they were bad or want to damage the company. This is the way they were being measured. So when we have done the change, we took this deeply into account. So we involve all the people from all the departments. We shared the vision, we shared the road, but also we have done some simulation, again, with very beautiful IT tools to simulate the expected outcome from these changes. So we could share with the people what will be the results if we do ABC. Very important, when you have this solution with the team, don't ignore criticism, don't ignore objections. If you really embrace this, you have a gold mine, because these criticism, these objections, if you take them into account, you will make your solution much, much better, because they know something. They bring their fears, they bring their fear from negative impact. So you take this into account, you just perfect your solution. Focus on global KPIs. This is not easy. You know, you come to the guy who managed the warehouse in Mexico, and you tell him, now you are, all of us, responsible for the group inventory. How can he contribute? You know what? After a very short time, people from all over the world, from all kinds of activities like selling units, production, they came with ideas how to make the management of the total operation much better. And they changed their operation to support this global look. Not easy, but bring huge value. Results are amazing. You can see here the inventory days went down, but this is not enough. Again, maybe this was happen in the industry. Maybe this is, you know, just because you put focus on it. So again, benchmark. This is the only way. So we look from 2012 to 2017. Adama went down from 238 days to 172. What happened to the industry at the same time? Went up from 200 in average to 2017. Now you can see these red circles. Adama turned around from being worst in class to be way first in class in less than 4 years. And this was, I mean, nobody believed this could happen. This is reality. And my good friend, the CFO of the company, he always told me, okay, very nice, very wise, intelligent process, show me the money. So $400 million reduction in working capital just because of these activities. This is about 25 to 30% of the total working capital of the company. So it's not something small. Availability went up, actually more than what you see here. It go from 75 to 90, but we also changed the way we measure to a much more strict one. So it's really a jump. Additional savings everywhere. Logistics, production cost, of course, because you improve the process, you improve everything. Quality went up drastically. All these in less than 4 years. Always a question. So we have done all these, what is next? One way to see if your solution is consistent is to see what happened when you left. I left the company 2 years ago. Results are continuing in a very, very good way, even better than what we've done before. But I want to show you this. Some people believe, I call them the green people, they believe that if you made a jump in performance, then you can, if you are good, you can gradually go up. I strongly believe in the red line. And why? Because when we have done all these changes, you perfect your operation, you perfect your system. Now you can aim much higher and put much higher targets. This is my personal belief. So thank you for your attention. And one thing to remember, I believe this can be done at any company, anytime, anywhere. And I'll be personally very happy to show one-on-one what I mean. Thank you very much.
Dr. Abramov, what a masterclass on operational excellence, business transformation, and in the context of intelligent business process management, real intelligent business process management, leveraging all the aspects of the process, of the people, of the technology. So Dr. Abramov, I'm going to ask you that you stop sharing your presentation right now so that the audience can see us on the big screen. Perfect. And for all of you in the audience, if you could submit your questions in real time here on to Dr. Abramov, I will relay as many as possible. I can see the questions coming in. So there are a number of questions coming in, which is exciting to see. So I'm going to start with Zoki Flea. Zoki Flea Mansour asked about your effort right in the beginning when you drove the effort to reduce and optimize this large number of SKUs that you had based on the how did you approach that? Did you use a 80-20 formulation based on demand? What was your approach for reducing the number of offerings that you had?
So thanks for the question. So to start with, we didn't really reduce any number of offerings. This, by the way, happened at 2017. When we finished this, we say, okay, what is next? Let's now improve the offering. So at this time, we just changed the operation without touching the offering. But what happened is on the country level, people now, they have done it themselves because they say, okay, we have to control our inventory. We have to control the company inventory. Let's give up on the things that bring less value. So we didn't do anything from central. This happened by itself.
Very, very interesting. What about, tell us a little bit about the beginning of this journey. How did you get involved with Adama? Did they have internally, they saw the need, you had a relationship, and they thought bringing you in would help? Maybe what were their expectations as they brought you into the company to help you on their journey? What was their perceived problem early on that they want you to work on?
So to be honest, I don't think they knew. I think, so I was brought to the company by the CEO at the time that knew about me when I was a CEO of the biggest engineering firm in Israel. He probably heard something about me. And he called me, and by the way, he said, listen, the operation need change all over, in the production, in sourcing, all over. It was when I analyzed the picture, I talked with all the internal partners, with the regional heads, everybody, and I realized that we need to start with the supply chain, the way we manage the supply chain. I can tell you that the number of complaints I heard about the mistrust in the company, so people really didn't trust each other. From the supply to production to the countries. So, you know, when you don't trust somebody, you ask for more because you don't believe he will deliver. The performance of the delivery were very low. 75%, by the way, when I showed 75%, the way they measured, which was for me very, very wrong, they measured it from the date they promised to deliver. When I said we jumped to 90, this was on the requested date, not on the promise. So it's a real need. You tell me what you need, when you need, and I'll bring it there. So it changed completely the way we manage things. So again, company did not plan this change. They knew something need to be changed. I'm happy. I spent 6 years at Adama as the executive vice president for operations, and I felt that I've done everything to bring the value and retired.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a fantastic case study and proof of the concepts in action. So another question that has come up is that as you joined the company, and it seems like you were in a leadership role, but in the operations side of the business, some of the changes that you have shared with us today are very profound changes in the entire business, not just the operation side. So you had to influence marketing, you had to influence a number of different parts of that leadership team. Tell us a little bit about how were you able to do that? How were you able to get this changes go way beyond operations. So how were you able to influence the other members of the leadership team?
Well, I don't think there is a crystal ball or a silver bullet for this. I can tell you that when I talk with people, I really listen to what bothered them. By the way, When I joined, the first thing I was doing is to meet all my internal customers, the regional heads, to really understand what stopped them from selling more. This was my question. I came to each one of them and asked, what prevents you to sell? You sell today, let's say in Brazil, $400 million. What stopped you to sell double? Because the market is huge. Adama, one of the advantages of a company like Adama, if you compare them to Syngenta or Bayer or one of these big giants, is that they only take 6-7% of the total market. So the room to grow is huge. So these questions bring a lot of information. And then I believe that what I talked about KPI is crucial. Because just for example, if you take the inventory, the process was that each country responsible for their inventory. Now, let's say I'm in France and I want to make sure I will have enough to sell, so I will order more from the company. If I see that I can't sell, I tell them stop. But when I say stop, they already bought the raw material, they already produced, so it didn't really help the company. It helped the local KPIs, but not the company. So the real change, and this was at the beginning a fight, then full understanding, the KPI of total inventory of the company was shared by everybody in the company. So even if you are a salesperson, even if you are a manager of a warehouse, you are part of this global KPI. And this brings, it looks strange at the beginning because people are used to the fact that they are responsible for their territory, for their part, but it brings huge value. And when we started with the first 2 pilots happened in 1 year, 2013. So when we show people the benchmark and the results of this pilot, then it's easy to go forward.
Absolutely. You implemented some very transformational principles in the organization, and then you also demonstrated that you have very clear mechanisms to translate those principles into execution and into action. So that was very impressive. Now, what do you consider to be, and you may have just answered this, but one of the questions I want to confirm, because one of the question is, what is the biggest success factor as you look back at this 5 to 6 year journey? And you had a very successful journey. If you look back in hindsight, what was the biggest success factor, or the things that you did that was like, well, I'm glad I did that because that really set us in the right direction?
Well, if you ask the CFO, we'll say the money. But I think the relationship between, this kind of flexible operation, in order to maintain it, you need a very high level of communication. So, for example, if I said before I joined the company, the way we get the forecast was the countries made the forecast, they send the results. When we change it, we were sitting with one country after the other, made the forecast together with them. So if they say, okay, we are going to sell this amount of this product, we asked, okay, last year you sold half of it or 70%. What is changing in the market that make you believe you will sell more? Then they come up with answer and say, okay, so now we know what are the drivers that we need to look at. So we look together at these drivers at the beginning of the season. So it requires constant communication in a very high level, and of course trust between all the parties involved. Some are very tough. For example, new products. When you don't have history, you don't have any reference. So what you do is new products. So we put a special team to take care of supply only for new product, because it requires much more attention, requires much more flexibility, breaking the rules, because you want to be there in the market with the new product. So I think is the level of communication and then the trust that created with this level of, because when you know why the other guy give you these numbers. You can help him to do better, and he can help you to do better. So it's a lot of communication. So again, the principles are very simple, but when you go, we have done later on solutions like these in India, in Brazil. Brazil is, I think, perfect solution. I don't know what happened now with all the situation there, but it was the perfect solution that we put anywhere because they are very disciplined when it's come to solution like this. So it was a great success. We are trying in China. I mean, Adama is trying now in China. Not easy, but again, you take the principle, but you don't just send them away. Then for each market, you do a very detailed planning with the people in this region to make sure this principle can be adjusted to this market because they are completely different.
Thank you very much. Listen, Dr. Abramov, I'm originally from Brazil. I'm going to go back there now and check your work and see how things are working out.
Yeah,
so I want to thank you for what you have shared with us today, and many reasons. And one of the reasons, this is a great example that how technology is wonderful, but also how technology does not solve certain business problems like the ones you mentioned, because just implementing technology in the old system and principles would have made a bad decisions faster, perhaps, but it wouldn't really move the business in the right direction. And this is a great example of how you went to the culture, to the structure, to the business model. And once you had a good model, now you can implement technology that will enable that model to work well. So thank you so much for sharing your expertise today. It's from Israel to the world. It's a real pleasure, a real honor for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes this session. We're going to be back at the top of the hour where we're going to go back into technology, and we're going to talk about how we can drive return on investment on a model-based enterprise. And Ken Hartman, who is the managing director of DSA, is going to give us a master class on how to do that. So from process heavy to technology heavy on the next segment. Make sure that you close your session and you provide feedback through this short survey that will be available to you. So thank you. See you back again at the top of the hour.